car buyers are definitely an inscrutable fork. It could be very confusing. For example, which would you think would be a more volume seller in 2023? An entry-level MPV like the Avanza or an entry-level SUV like the Veloz? The answer to that will definitely surprise you. What's going on, guys? Roy Robles here from Zigwheels.Ph, and today we're going to be giving you an interesting comparo because nothing could be more similar than these two right here. We'll be comparing the Toyota Avanza with the Toyota Veloz. So first of all, I'd like to point out that Toyota Motor Philippines has an interesting classification for these two very similar vehicles. First of all, the Toyota Veloz is classified as an SUV. Don't believe me? Check out Toyota Motor Philippines website right now and you'll see exactly what I'm talking about. While the similarly looking Toyota Avanza right here, which you could definitely mistake the two, is categorized as an MPV. I mean, what's up with that, Toyota? I mean, they definitely know what their cars are, but this is the reason why we're holding these particular comparos. First of all, when it comes to the looks, you got some major differences between the two. First of all, the hood features these interesting looking designs on top. While the Avanza features these nice, sleek looking character lines on the hood, this one actually has a small hint of a power bulge right there. They have similarly looking headlamps here, but they only differ in particular shapes, so you won't be able to interchange these two headlamps without having to rip off the face of the Avanza and the Veloz, simultaneously. You definitely won't be able to reuse those headlamps here if you want that look, or this one in there, without having to do a little bit more Mighty Car Mods modifications. You can see a T-shaped design on the hexagonal grille. It's more situated higher up right there. It kind of recognizes its lineage in the SUV game and kind of resembles the RAV4 or the Yaris Cross or even the Toyota Corolla Cross. While the Avanza has this more sporty, if you ask me, a sportier grille here that kind of gives you the Superman vibes. It has more horizontal slats here, and if you ask me, this is definitely more sleek, especially when you compare the chrome city, the chrome party that they're holding right here on the Toyota Veloz. Now, if I'm mistaken one over the other, I'll have to apologize beforehand because these two look really similar, and I'm just glad that Toyota Motor Philippines actually lent us two different colors for each. I love this pearl white color scheme on the Toyota Veloz here, and guess what? It definitely looks good, especially when it hits the light this way early in the morning. While this dark olive green color on the Avanza is more Spartan in a way, but it has its charms as well. Both have LED headlamps, as you can see, but they do have halogen fog lamps here. The only difference with the Veloz is that it does have sequential turn signals. All right, that's enough about the front end. Those are the major differences that we can see between these two models. They're essentially the same. It's just that they're different in their own special way. Let's check out the side profiles. Now, the side profile of both of these models is where you can actually differentiate and has the most differences between the Veloz and the Avanza. First of all, you've got 16-inch alloy wheels on the Avanza, while the Veloz has 17-inch alloy wheels with 205 tires, and you got 195s right here. So you got thicker tires right there on the SUV, while the MPV gets eco tires, so that's no worries. Side skirts on the Veloz, while the Avanza gets none of that. But at least you do get, a blacked out window frame here, instead of getting, again, Chrome City with the Avanza. You got chrome all the way from the headlamps all the way to the tail lamps, while this one has a clean looking character line instead, which really actually digs well, especially with my aesthetic when it comes to cars. But the Veloz gets functional roof rails, while the Avanza does not get that at all. Another difference is that although both of the side mirrors get repeater signals, you will see that the Avanza has cameras that work with the 360-degree camera system and works with Toyota Safety Sense. So right there, in itself, you'd find the biggest difference. But here's probably the biggest clue in why Toyota would probably think that that's an SUV and this is an MPV. The Veloz, that's right, they got it right. The Veloz does have black plastic cladding around the wheel arches and even on the side skirts. So yes, remember our rule here in Zigwheels Philippines, if you got black plastic cladding, you're a crossover SUV. And since the Avanza doesn't have one, it's just relegated as an MPV. I think that's Toyota Motor Philippines' logic when it comes to classifying both of these vehicles. But we'll find out more in their drive and try to figure that out later on. Now, the back of the Toyota Veloz and the Toyota Avanza warrant enough differences to have their own different nameplates. For example, the tail lamp cluster on the Veloz and the Avanza on these edges right here do have similarities, but you do get a nice light bar that runs across the entire width here, broken only by the Toyota badge. Plus, you've got a backup sensor and backup cameras here. You got the same on the Toyota Avanza, but the Veloz is the only one that has a 360-degree camera system. You got a nice large rear windshield here. It gives you great visibility and a hint of a spoiler. You do get a shark's fin antenna up top. A lot of people seem to love that. And the Veloz badge is right here on the trim right next to the door handle, while the Avanza has it on the sides with the G badge there, knowing that it is the top of the line Avanza. On here, you don't need to know what particular trim this is because you do have it as the V variant. Plus, you've got a nice gray looking diffuser look here. You don't get that on the Avanza, and both of them have non-powered tailgates. In order to open the tailgate up, you need to manually put it up there and put it down. It gives you access to great space right here on the back. Even though you have the third row seats folded up, you still put a lot of your stuff in there. But if you need more space, you can fold those third row seats down, as well as second row seats, so that you get a flat floor to put all your longer items inside. So on the outside, they're different enough, but are we gonna say the same about the inside? Let's find out. All right, so we're inside the Toyota Veloz. Just kidding, this is the Avanza, but I bet you'd believe me if I told you that this was the Veloz. But yes, this is the Avanza, and it has a couple of things that are missing that we can find in the Veloz. For example, it doesn't have leather material seats. It doesn't have a leather wrap steering wheel, but you do get a nice polyurethane steering wheel here that feels all right. I mean, for the price, you're definitely not going to complain with many of the amenities inside the Avanza because it does offer a lot, again, for the price. For example, instead of a 9-inch touchscreen infotainment system that you can find in the Veloz, you get an 8-inch screen right here, which is just fine because it features Toyota's newest interface when it comes to their touchscreen infotainment system, which is nice, and it is a far better system compared to the older ones, especially the ones you can find in the Corolla Cross, the Vios and whatnot. Even the RAV4, this is definitely a much better system. It's just a little smaller and smaller compared to the one in the Veloz. Now, because it is smaller, you do have more space to put in some physical buttons right here. You got a volume button here on the right side, a home button and a back button right here on the left, which of course I prefer than having to put everything on the touchscreen. Now, because of that too, you do have a bigger unit there. Some people might find it a little bit obscuring, especially when you're driving down the road, but for me it is definitely no problems. You got nice sun visors. They're awfully thin if you ask me, but at least it's got a vanity mirror, but unfortunately this does not have vanity lamps for the mirror, which the Veloz certainly has. It also has a couple of missing buttons on the steering wheel as well as on the left side here, but again, that's no problems. You don't have automatic climate control, but it does get awfully cool inside both of these vehicles, especially you're definitely going to need that in the hot summer days. I like how everything is sculpted. The dashboard does not have an inch of soft touch material at all, but a nice trade-off is that it has a shelf right here where you could put some items that you can definitely want. It even fits my huge iPhone right there, no problems. It has some ingenious cubby holes right here on each side of the vent, left and right. It can fit some small to medium-sized bottles and cups, so that's no problems. Unfortunately, it's not able to fit any larger bottles above 500 milliliters. Even on the side. It's got some 3 bottle holders on each side right here. They're pretty small, so they're not going to fit anything larger than 250 milliliters, which is quite odd if you ask me. You do have a nice center armrest, which is again hard touch plastic, and you get you get a carbon fiber looking trim on the shift knob instead of piano black on the Veloz, which is nice. But one thing that is missing here as well is you don't get any electronic parking brakes and automatic brake hold. Instead, you get the good old handbrake right there, which I wonder why the Corolla Cross does not have this just yet. I mean, just give us the good old handbrake instead of a foot brake. This is perfectly fine. Now, as you drive, a few things that are missing here that are also missing in the Veloz. It doesn't have a dead pedal, which means there's no place for you to actually rest your left foot when you're driving. But you do get an engine start-stop button, and you got more cubby holes right here, 2 USB ports, one on the touchscreen infotainment and one right here on the cubby hole, and you get an adjustable steering wheel for both reach and rake. It doesn't reach too far back, so if you're like me, who's got T-Rex arms, it's gonna be quite a bummer. You can just adjust your seating position closer or farther, just as you wish. This does not have a height adjuster though. If you're looking for a height adjuster, head over to the Veloz. So the sound is all right. Again, for the price, there's little to complain about the Avanza. You've got nice visibility all around. Even though this is an MPV, you still have a lot of space to work with, and you can see everything. Although you definitely don't need a 360-degree camera for this, but I appreciate that the Veloz does have it. Another difference is that the gauge cluster now features, well, instead of getting a digital gauge cluster on the left side as on the Veloz, you get a fully analog gauge cluster right here. Before we head over to the second row seats, I'd just like to comment that this seems to be like a tale of two cities in my opinion. While the Avanza features a very Spartan look, if you consider the price, it seems alright. I mean, especially with Japanese minimalism in mind, Toyota's particular design language has you covered with the Avanza. With the Veloz though, with all the nice trims, the soft touch plastic, the the piano black trims right there on the center console, it seems like a little reaching too much towards the more luxurious or upper. It's trying to punch above its weight class and doing just all right. And all of a sudden you're starting to compare itself to more expensive cars. But for me, this is probably the sweet spot. But a lot of people seem to be gunning towards the Veloz in my opinion. I'm just saying you might want to consider this when you're comparing these two models. So I've ridden some taxis in Japan. They've actually have these MPV looking taxis with some great space in the second row seats. And I gotta say, this is probably the closest thing to that. And there's a reason why the Toyota Avanza is starting to gain popularity, especially in the ride sharing scene. A lot of you guys probably know what I'm saying because you've got tons of space in the Toyota Avanza, especially the second row seats. You've got fabric seats. Of course, you don't get leather seats unlike on the Veloz, but it's perfectly usable, especially in hot summer days where the leather seats won't be absorbing a lot of, especially with these seats, not absorbing a lot of the heat from the outside. But again, you got hard touch plastics everywhere. You got this cream colored roof, and the AC unit seems to be a little on the loud side, so I have to raise my voice a little bit because, well, this can get pretty annoying, especially when you're the driver. You can hear some sort of hair dryer action right there in the back. You got 2 cup holders here, but again, the reason why you get an Avanza is because of the usability, the space, and it's got everything that you need. You got 2 map pockets right here. The Veloz, instead of map pockets, gets some multi-function pockets right here for your tablets, for your cell phones, instead of just 2 generic map pockets. You got 2 USB ports right here in the back. They're USB-A instead of USB-C, so they're not that much future-proof. Instead of nothing right there. You can actually fold this seat down. You can put this down right there for some captain seat action. You can actually mimic that particular action. Unfortunately, this doesn't have cup holders. This is just a headrest. So yeah. For the much awaited third row test, let's go ahead inside. Right there in the third row and see how it goes. Both the Toyota Veloz and the Toyota Avanza have very similar configurations when it comes to their seating. So getting to the third row seats is quite easy. You gotta tumble that seat right down and then sit in the back as usual. Hey, very promising. Then fully sit right up right here. I'm gonna recline the seat all the way back here to give you guys an idea of the space that I have. All right, hey, it's actually not bad. I mean, it could use a little bit more space, especially when it comes to headroom. But in a pinch, this is definitely not bad. This actually puts a lot of SUVs with the third rows to shame, because I still have a lot of room for my feet right here to jostle around. It's just right for my knees and my head, but in a pinch, if I really have to sit in the third row here, I do have some amenities. I have some cup holders. I got a power socket right there. Yeah. But that's enough about the third row seats. Let's take this out for a spin and let's see how the Veloz and the Avanza drives on the road. All right, so we're behind the wheel of the Toyota Veloz. You can actually call this the Toyota Avanza as well, because they pretty much ride on the same platform. They have the same engine, same suspension. Everything about it is the same. We're gonna boil down the differences in a bit, but in a nutshell, under the hood, you've got a 1.5 liter naturally aspirated 4-cylinder engine that makes, well, around 105 horsepower and 136 newton meters of torque. Hey, what's going on? Anyway, with that much power under the hood, this makes this an ideal city car instead of a highway cruiser. You can still take this out on the highway, but don't expect this to burn your pants when it comes to performance. But if you want to ask me if can this go all the way to Baguio with 7 people on it, yes, it can. The steering, well, the turn radius of the Toyota Veloz and the Toyota Avanza is quite nice, and it's perfectly suited for the city. It really doesn't matter between the wheel sizes of both 195 and 205. They're that much similar to be still have the same turning radius, so it's perfect again for the city. Steering is very light. There's no way for you to change the steering parameters here. There's no way for you to adjust the electronic power steering, but you do have different drive modes in the Toyota Veloz. You do have power, that's power mode, PWR mode, and if you long press that, you do have eco mode. So you have 3 modes: normal, power, and eco. So yeah, but with the Avanza, you do have S mode. S mode would mean sport mode. So you still have a few drive mode there, and you got manual options for both the Avanza and the Veloz. Now, putting power to the front wheels is a CVT, or continuously variable transmission. CVTs, in my opinion, is a perfect match when it comes to econo cars such as this one, but I do have one gripe about both the Veloz and the Avanza. When going up to speed, especially highway speed, and going up the rev range, it does exhibit the characteristic CVT whine, especially when going down the road like this. I'm gonna try to emulate that as I go through to the Veloz's paces right here. I'll just go through traffic easily this way, and let's harness all the powers from the. There you go. There seems to be that incessant drone coming from the engine, and right now we're in the speed limit. That's the speed limit right there. So you can hear a lot of the engine noise, a lot of the CVT whine coming through the cabin like this, which means that, well, it could probably be because it doesn't have enough insulation from the engine bay to the interior. That's why a lot of the noise is permeating through. It may be a little disconcerting for some. Some people might actually go back to the dealership. Hey, what's this whine that I'm hearing from the engine bay, especially at speed? I gotta assure you that that's normal. That's definitely something that you have to consider, especially when you're buying an Avanza or a Veloz. So continue on with the NVH noise. It's up for the course for this type of segment of vehicle. Vibration, well, vibration again, it does a good job with trying to, you know, absorb the road imperfections, but it's not going to be luxury level. It does great, especially at this price point. And harshness, again, you can hear the engine, especially right now when we're coasting along this way. So again, it's fine. NVH levels is fine. You've got McPherson struts up front and a torsion bar rear suspension in the rear, which again is standard when it comes to this segment. The Toyota Avanza, the Toyota Veloz, the Toyota Raze, and the Toyota Yaris Cross actually share the same platform. So they might exhibit a few differences, especially when it comes to suspension settings, but again, they ride on the same platform. So you can be rest assured of the same quality from Toyota when it comes to suspension quality, noise, vibration, and harshness. So it's fine. So you do get the same ABS, so the electronic brake force distribution for both models, but in this case though, the Veloz is the only model between the two that gets rear disc brakes. The Avanza still gets rear brakes, of course, but it has drum brakes instead of disc brakes. Again, a little more extra, something for the money. And a lot of people are considering that, especially when choosing between the two models. Fuel economy for both the Veloz and Avanza are exactly the same, if not very, very similar. In the city, you get 8 kilometers per liter, and out on the highway, based on our own testing, we got around 16 to 17 kilometers per liter. A lot of people are getting 20, north of 20. I don't know where they're getting that from, but 16 to 17 with many people inside. If you reach around 7 people, it actually drops around 6 to 7 kilometers per liter in the city, but again, that's just fine. What's to be expected? You're carrying 7 people around. Are you really expecting 10 kilometers per liter, especially when carrying a lot of people? No car can do that. Maybe probably a bit hybrid, but not in this type of car at this particular price point. Come on, guys. Temper your expectations a little bit. When it comes to safety features, the basic and standard ones, the Toyota Veloz and the Avanza, the top of the line models, cannot be more the same. You got multiple airbags, you got ABS with electronic brake force distribution, you got stability control, you got hill hold assist, and all those basic niceties that you should be seeing in modern cars. Now the difference though is that the Veloz gets a lighter version of Toyota safety sense. So you don't get adaptive cruise control, you don't get lane keep assist, but you do get lane departure warning, automatic headlamps, you got forward collision warning, and a 360-degree camera system, which works very nicely. Both cars don't get cruise control at all, but you gotta remember, these are meant for city driving. So when it comes to cruising around the city, it's perfect, but don't really expect this to have cruise control. It doesn't have any of that. Another surprising feature is that both have blind spot monitoring system and rear cross traffic alerts. So again, when it comes to those basic safety features, Toyota's got you covered with these amazing cars. So here we come to the meat of things. How much are the top of the line models of both the Toyota Veloz and Avanza? Well, the Toyota Veloz can be had at 1,250,000 pesos for the top of the line V variant. And based on all the features and all the features that all the variants have, it's the top of the line variant that you should be getting, because you do get a 360-degree surround monitor system, you got the bigger touchscreen infotainment system, and yes, that's the one you should go, because the price of the top of the line Avanza, on the other hand, is 1,059,000 pesos. That's right. If you're getting a entry-level Veloz, you might as well head on over to the top of the line Avanza, because it is still much cheaper than that. And with that, you get everything that we discussed earlier with the Avanza. You got the 16-inch alloy wheels. You've got the 8-inch touchscreen infotainment system. You got the multiple airbags, the speakers, and all that. And that's really the way to go. That begs the question, why is the Toyota Veloz still a consistent top seller, especially when compared to the Avanza? Well, here's the thing. We as car buyers really want to get the most features out of our car purchase. Now, when it comes to the price, 200,000 pesos, might seem to be a huge shock, especially when it comes to the initial sticker price. But when it comes to the features that we want to live with, especially that 360-degree camera system, the lighter version of Toyota Safety Sense, those are things that people might actually need more and can be actually proud of, especially when you're driving a top-of-the-line car. Now, even though you're driving the Avanza as the top-of-the-line model, it still pales in comparison to the Veloz when it comes to those features, and I think those are the main considerations when you buy the Veloz over the Avanza. That's why a lot of people are buying that over this, because when you spread out the payments, especially with 60 months or 5-year payment plan, it doesn't seem to be that much heavier when you go for the top-of-the-line Veloz. But if you ask me, I'm still gunning for the Avanza myself because of how simple everything is. It's a point-and-shoot MPV. It has the same ground clearance, 190 millimeters. It seats the same people. It's 7 people inside. Get the same engine, same basic safety features. Still get a backup camera, which is nice. So if you ask me, I'd go for the Avanza myself, but I wouldn't blame you. I wouldn't blame 13,000 people back in 2023 for buying the Veloz. It's a great car. It's just that everything I need can be found in the Avanza. So it's a win-win situation, really. All right, let's get down to brass tacks. Does the Toyota Veloz warrant that SUV moniker? In my opinion, it really teeters between the border of SUV and MPV, and I think I'm leaning just a little slightly towards MPV. The only reason is because it has a similar shape, too much of a similar shape with the Avanza right here. But I guess Toyota Motor Philippines really knows what they're doing, and it's got the prerequisite back plastic cladding to call itself an SUV, so let's give them that. But do these two models warrant enough differences to have their own badge names, the Avanza and the Veloz? All right, let's give it to Toyota this time around. Yes, they do have enough differences, and I get why so many people are choosing the Veloz over the Avanza. That's right, the Veloz is actually it's pretty much more a volume seller than the Avanza right here, because it kind of really reaches out towards a lot of people's, a lot of buyers' heartstrings, towards wanting to get an SUV, and they've got it right here. At least the bare minimum of what an SUV should. Again, the black plastic cladding. So between these two models, what would you choose? Between what your needs are going to be, do you need to seat 7 people inside? Do you really need these black plastic claddings? Do you really need a chrome around it? Drop me a comment in the comment section down below. And while you're dropping me a comment down below, I've noticed that 90% of viewers on our channel are actually not subscribed. So why don't you subscribe to our channel and hit that notification icon? If you do so, you won't miss any of our videos. This 2024, we got a lot more videos upcoming for you guys that you're surely not gonna wanna miss. Thanks so much for watching. This is Roy Robles from Zigwheels.Ph. I will see you guys next time. In fact, we're invading the meta space. We're here on Facebook and Instagram as well, so watch out for all our videos right here.